Hi, this is Mark Arnold at Fun Ideas Podcast. And today on the show, we have artist Howard Bender. How are you today, sir?
Great. Thanks for calling and having this meeting. We can talk about old times, so to speak.
You can deduct it off your taxes.
I can?
Yeah,
wow.
Sure.
Okay,
Why not? So, the basic thing is, I know you from Harvey Comics, but you worked for Marvel and worked for DC and Archie and other places. How did you kind of get your start? Tell me a little bit about yourself and where you first got into the comic book industry.
Okay, well, I started collecting comics at an early age, around 6, and then really got into collecting in around 11, 12. And we had a comic book store that opened here in Pittsburgh. It was called Ides Entertainment in 1972. And I would ride my bike over the Highland Park Bridge to get there. And we started a club called the Pittsburgh Comics Club. So I was really in the comics. And I knew that from an early age that I really wanted to draw comics, though I really didn't know how. So, well, we had the club, and one of our very first convention that we had in 1973, Stan Lee was the guest of honor. So the club managed to have lunch with him, and we set up a meeting, and we had lunch, and I brought my portfolio because the president of the club, Ben Pondexter, told me to bring my portfolio because he wanted me to show at the stand. So after we ate our meal, in the middle of our dessert, I pulled out this huge, big portfolio full of my work, which wasn't very much. And I unzipped it, opened it up, and plopped it right in Stan's lap. And I said, I'd like to work at Marvel. How do I get a job there? He says, well, I don't really do the hiring. And Stan, right?
Yeah, I've met him like 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Yes, because that is something he would say. He's so diplomatic, and that's one of the wonderful things why we love him so much, because of that. Mm-hmm. So after I graduated art school, which was called Ivy School of Professional Art, we had 2 major art schools in downtown Pittsburgh. One was Ivy, and the other was the Art Institute. And I was going to Ivy, and Paul Galassi was going to Art Institute, and every once in a while we would meet for lunch and talk about about the industry and how we'd like to break in. And he was already seeing Steranko and getting tips from Dan Atkins at the time, and he would show me all this awesome stuff that he was doing with them, and which was very inspiring. So he got into the industry way before I did, and I moved to Manhattan in 1974 just so I could find a job in the industry, so I could work in comics, because this is something I really love doing. I really wanted to do that. So I went to every comic book company in Manhattan, which was where they were at the time, because you can go anywhere now. You don't even have to leave your house to get an interview.
Right.
But one of the places I went was Harvey. So I met one of the Harvey brothers, and we talked for a night. He was very nice. We talked about comics and things like that, but he said there was nothing there for me to do. So, and I also went to Archie. I went there. They were up near the waterfront, pretty much up there.
Is that in Mamaroneck, or were they somewhere else?
No, they were in Manhattan.
Okay, so they moved to Mamaroneck, and I think they've moved again since. But yeah,
they were in Manhattan, right next to the who's the guy who says I can't get no respect, the comedian.
Oh, Dangerfield, Rodney.
Yeah, he had a club.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right next to his club.
To the Archie.
Wow,
I never knew that.
If you look through between the 2 buildings, you could see the waterfront down there. So they were really close. And I think I talked at that time. I talked to Sid. Oh,
Well,
I
at Archie,
forget.
it'd probably be Victor Gorley.
Yeah, that's who I talked to. Vic. He'd been there a long time. He knows everything about Archie. He was like the soul of.
Mhm.
I mean, he was really like really kept everything running up there.
Yeah.
And I also went to DC, and Asherman. No, I forget. Well, like I said, names are really slipping by.
Was
right
it
now.
Dick Giordano or
No, Dick wasn't there yet.
No.
I met someone in production. He did the coloring
Mhm.
up
Oh, okay.
there,
Okay.
and he showed me around the office. He was so polite to me and so nice. He didn't have to take the time to do
Was
that.
it Julie Schwartz?
No,
Oh,
no.
I don't know.
Julie became my boss. He
Oh,
was my
okay.
editor at one time
Okay.
when I was doing Superman and
Mhm.
Dial H for Hero. He was my editor, but I was working up at the offices at the time in production. I did put the covers together. So I would see him every morning, and I would say, good morning, Julie. And he would look back at me and point and say, prove it. Every time he would say that. So, I think he was, challenging me to make a good point, or he was just trying to be, a curmudgeon like that he was. Okay, so anyway, I got into, and also went down to Warren Publishing,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I saw Bill Dubay down there.
Mhm.
And one of the first times I was down there with Bill Dubay, he asked me to come into his office, and he was already in there talking to Bernie Wrightson.
Hmm.
And Bernie had did this beautiful painting, and Bill had this huge office, and his desk was set way back, and the wall was way over here, and Bernie's painting was set up on a chair or a couch on top of the couch, leaning up against the wall, and he was really ripping it apart. Not Bernie. Bill was really ripping his painting apart, and
Wow.
and Bill was and Bernie was so professional about it. He really took it all very well, and that was a good lesson right there for me, because I was such a big fan, and still am a big fan of Bernie's work.
Right.
And I could not ever see him doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
But Bill had his way of he knew about production and how things line up and how they reproduce and things like that. And so he probably had that. He was probably talking from that point of view, which was, I guess, he gave him some really good criticism that would help him. So, and also I went to Marvel, and they had a reception area, and I would go around every week making the rounds. This was like in October of '74. I would make the rounds of all the comic book companies, the ones I just mentioned, and the ones that told me, there was no chance, I would cross them off. But I kept going back to Marvel and Warren, because they were, at least keeping the door open. And I would go to Marvel and I would sit in the reception area waiting for someone to come out and talk to me. And one day somebody did. Danny Crespi came out and said, "You want to work here? We got an opening."
Wow.
In production, in the bullpen. And I said, the bullpen, the magic bullpen, Marvel magic bullpen. Yeah, okay, let's go. And then the same day, I got Bill Dubay tells me he wants me to work there in production. So I got a job at Marvel and Warren at the same time. Wow. And I was working for both of them because at the same time, because I was like in what do they call that when you're not really accepted? Probation. I was in a probation period between Marvel and Warren. But when I was working at Warren, I got to work on their, I got to meet everybody. And one of the, Wheezy was up there as an editor. This was before she started working at Marvel. And well, the colorist up there, she did the coloring on the Spirit inserts.
Oh, yeah.
He also was, for a while, she was Bernie's wife for a while. I forgot her name.
No, Louise Jones? No.
No. Anyway.
And then when you said colorist, I said Marie Severin. I was thinking Marie Severin, but she's over at Marvel, so never mind.
See, this is why I am not a good interviewer, because
that's cool.
I'm not good with
Everybody
names.
watching this is like, Howard, Mark, I know it. That's cool.
Okay.
No, we'll figure it out.
All right. So, but the fun part was I got to work on Warren's convention booklet.
Oh.
And I also got to go to the convention and work their convention, which was a lot of fun. And I got to meet Forey Ackerman,
okay,
which was really fun. And he's a good he'd be a great interview if you were still here with us.
Yeah, I met him once. It was the first time I went to San Diego Comic Convention.
Yes,
in '91 or something, and I thought that would be the only time I went. But I haven't gone recently, but I've gone about 10 times at least. So I went around and I got autographs just on the hotel stationery, because I didn't even have anything for anybody to sign. But Corey signed it, and then I got Ray Harryhausen, I got Will Eisner, I got a few others, Kelly Freeze, just because, I don't know if I'm ever going to see these people again, because I didn't live in Southern California. I was in Northern California, and now I'm in Oregon, so it's even further away, but
I get you. I know just what you mean. The first convention that we went to, the first one I ever went to was an EC convention in Manhattan. And that was only because I was there visiting my fiance.
Was that the EC one, the 1972 one? The big reunion? Oh, wow.
That was it. And I hitchhiked to Manhattan. My cousin and I hitchhiked to Manhattan so I could see my girlfriend, who was going to FIT at the time. And she became my wife. Joni, my wife, is now. And that was fun. But then we went to the Phil Suling conventions, and I know what you mean. Getting all those autographs was so much fun, and everybody was so open. All the professional people were so open to talking and being nice to everyone. It was such a wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. Even though it seemed crowded, but it was never as crowded as, say, San Diego convention.
That got crazy. It was reasonable in the 90s. Then this century, forget it. And so that's part of the reason I stopped going. Of course, the last couple of years it's a pandemic and been closed, but
I know it's awful.
I haven't gone since 2013. So
one of the Pittsburgh comic book people that did that edited our magazine, the Pittsburgh Comics Club. He works for the San Diego convention as doing their program book.
Oh, okay.
Gary Seisman.
Oh, okay. I've heard of him. Yeah, I wouldn't have ever come up with that name.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and he was so talented, and he's a little shy, but you got to work on talking to him. He's such a wonderful guy, though.
Yeah. Mentioning all those conventions in New York, I have a friend. You may know him, you may not, but he did work for Harvey briefly, but not till a long time later. Jerry Beck, he's an animation historian, but he went to all those. Yeah, he went to all those same conventions. I don't know if you bumped into him or knew him then, or
probably
you love him.
We might have watched a late movie we may have stayed up all night watching all those movies.
Because when I interviewed him on this very podcast, he was talking about, I went to the 72 EC convention, I went to the Phil Suling shows, I went to the Warren shows, it's like, wow, because here I'm on
we definitely ran into each other.
Yeah.
I worked on the Marvel conventions also. And
when were those?
75.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I kind of remember that. I didn't go to them, but yeah.
I worked on one of their program books.
Oh, okay.
Yes, for that.
So when you got the job at Marvel and Warren at the same time, how did you do that? I mean, I guess you didn't have to keep like banker's hours, right? You could work any schedule you want, or
eventually some reason I kept it. I didn't tell Warren that I was working at Marvel, and I didn't tell Marvel I was working at Warren, which I think I should have. As a mature adult, I see that there would have been a benefit to that. and on, keeping it honest and on the table, so to speak. But I was, a little apprehensive about, letting all that out at the time, because I didn't have the experience. That's what you need. That's why we live, so we can get the experience and understand. We live and we grow, so to speak.
So you did one of those Fred Flintstone type things. I mean, you checked in at 9 o'clock, and then you ran over to Warren, and then you worked at your desk for a little bit.
Yeah,
then you ran
like
back to Marvel and worked at your desk. I mean, how do you work both at the same time?
Yes, it was fun. It was fun. They were hectic. I worked in the bullpen, and then they moved me to the British department when they said that I could come on full time. So I had to tell Warren that I already got a full-time job.
Oh, okay.
And Marvel gave benefits, like health insurance and things like that. So that was nice.
When
it was a real job.
So Warren, you never did any artwork. It was just like paste up stuff when you worked.
Oh my gosh. Bill Dubay, he didn't know me from Adam, really. He gave me like a load of these huge sheets of art. And he said, take these home and cut these balloons out and paste them up on the artwork.
Wow.
Really? So I took them home, and they had a waxing machine. So I waxed all the sheets before I cut out the the balloons.
Yeah.
So then I pressed them down on the artwork. I could have taken them home to Pittsburgh.
Wow.
But I didn't, because it's just something. I was it's something. One of the things I learned early was not to take things that don't belong to you.
Yeah.
So that was good to know. Anyway, it was so amazing. Anyways, just to see all that, and the artwork was so beautiful, and it was big. It was huge, and it was black and white. One of my favorite artists was named Summers, and I enjoyed working on putting up balloons on his work. Wow, you're really bringing back memories now.
No, I want to ask this. You said that Wrightson was there getting his. Was it a cover painting? Was it supposed to be a cover painting?
I don't ever remember seeing that painting after that day.
Okay, but I mean, you said that the art was normally larger. How big were the paintings?
Oh my God! Oh, you want to talk about Warren? It was amazing walking into the hallway of Warren Publishing, because every inch of all the wall space had a huge painting by Frank Frazetta.
Oh,
nothing
geez.
But Frank Frazetta, wherever you went, whatever you looked at, was all Frazetta.
Now, I assume you met Jim Warren himself. I mean, you didn't just talk to DeBay, or did you basically?
Oh, I did talk to Jim one day.
Okay.
I made the mistake. Of sitting down before he told me to.
Oh,
and I don't think he really liked that.
He's still with us, actually. I think he's like 93 now or something like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I said, when you're young, you're not always that bright.
No, I'll agree. I'm not saying that.
Also,
I was
one
smarter
of the great things, Bill Dubay one day showed me around they have a little room they called Captain's Company, and it was metal shelving, all wall to wall, all the way around the room. And he said, you can go in and pick out 3 or 4 items, anything you want.
Wow.
So I got the Vampirella posters and the Cousin Eerie and Creepy posters, and I got the membership card. I got a membership card for Vampirella, was like 003.
Wow.
Something like that.
Did you get the Famous Monsters underwear?
I also got a Corbin print of Cousin Eerie.
Yeah.
That was they never did anything with it. But they printed it up. And I found out later
their main stuff, I guess, when you were there in 74, they're doing Famous Monsters, Vampirella, Creepy Eerie, and Spirit. That was the main ones at that time. So did you work on all the different books, or were you not there long enough to
well, I worked on whatever paste ups basically is what I did.
Yeah.
That was it.
Did you ever do art corrections or anything, or just the paste
No, I
ups?
did art corrections over at Marvel. They would
Okay.
let me do art corrections, and they taught me how to letter up at Marvel. And I did a lot of lettering corrections and art corrections up there. And I honed my skill on that, on a real type of production like that, because it helped me later when I worked at DC. I did a lot of art and lettering corrections. Also, when I worked at the British department in Marvel, I would do a lot of paste ups for the covers, which prepared me for my job at DC. When I worked there, I worked with Bob LaRose, who was the head of the cover, putting the cover department together. And we put together quite a few covers in a day.
Now, when you're at Warren, did you get any art assignment at all, or no? Because I know, like at Marvel and DC, you did.
No, they didn't. I might have showed them what I could do, and that's probably why they told me not. They didn't ask me to do anything.
So what was your first published piece? That was at Marvel then, I guess?
Yes, British department. Oh, let's see.
You have it?
Okay, I have some samples.
All right.
That was a good segue.
All right. It's good to see some
Way to go there, Mark.
Hey.
This is something I did with Joe Giella. He inked this,
Mm-hmm.
which later on he became one of my permanent inkers up at DC. And this was for the Pittsburgh Comics Club.
Oh.
We did this in '76. It was published in one of their magazines, or club magazines. And I really loved Green Lantern. Green Lantern was one of my favorite. Can you get the whole
move it
picture
over a little bit? There you go. Yeah, because everybody's going to say, I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
and I put down the thing here in blackest day and blackest night. I lettered that.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Did you letter it and everything? So okay.
Yeah.
Right, cool.
All right. And
what else you got?
This is one of my first covers I did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Spider-Man and the Punisher.
Huh.
It's inked by Mike Esposito and Frank Giacoia.
Now, did those issues have unique stories, or were they just US reprints?
No, these are all reprints.
Okay.
In black and white.
Okay.
Oh, and I learned how to do all the zipper toning when I was working in the British department. Overlays. It was a cheap way to tone a page. It was and a lot quicker than using dyes and inks and things like that, because all you needed was a sheet of zipper tone and a blade to cut it.
Yeah.
And
so how many titles did they have? I know they had a Captain Britain.
They had them all.
And I think later, we'll talk about Crazy Magazine, but they did a British version. I think it was called Frenzy instead, which is really bizarre. Or Frantic.
Well, they had their titles.
That's what it's called.
We did this weekly. When I worked in the British department, I produced about 8 books a week.
Huh.
And that was, like.
Are those in color or are they black and white?
They were all black and white.
Oh, okay.
They were all reprinted.
Because I've seen them before, but not in a while. So
I had to paste them up on a board and do all the lettering corrections. And there were a lot, because we had to change like color. We had to put a U in color.
Right.
And we had to change elevator to lift.
Oh, wow. Even that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were really into making sure we could make it as British as possible.
Right.
Anyway, and this is also, they split the stories in half. So they needed a new splash page every other week.
Oh, wow. So who drew those?
I did this. And,
you did those. Okay, I get it. Okay.
Mike Esposito inked this. I did this to make it look like Ross Andrew.
Huh.
I loved whose work I was, in fact, I really loved his work, especially right after he did Spider-Man, Superman. His work really improved like a million times.
So did anything like this ever get compiled in like any of those Marvel milestone books, or they're just kind of lost? Well, if you don't have the original British edition.
The story is that I did a lot of work we were working on Star Wars before the movie came out.
Right.
So we knew a lot about the movie before it came out, and I was right there when that was happening. And we were reprinting the comic book in Britain, and they needed new covers. Every other book needed a new cover. So I got to pencil a lot of those covers, which was nice.
Okay.
And but they came out with an omnibus, and like 5 years ago, and I didn't know about it. And it had all my work in it, and no credit, and no what do they call when you get money?
No royalties. No
royalties.
Wow.
And I didn't even know about it. Boy, I was just a little upset about that.
Yeah.
Because over the decades, I've been talking to people in Britain. People over in Britain would constantly asking me who did this and who did that, and I was telling them who and where and how all this stuff was done. And one of the people that I was talking, one of the major people was a consultant on this book, and none of the information I gave him was in the book. It was sort of disappointing.
Wow.
Okay. Also, this is one of the first pages I did. This is for after Star Wars. They came out with this.
Oh, okay. Is that Battlestar Galactica?
Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, okay. Okay, because it looks like
I did a center spread for
Lauren
the
Green there.
first magazine.
Okay.
This is the center spread.
Oh, okay.
And I showed it to Marie Severn, and she looked at it and said, "How did you color this?" And I said, "Well, Pantone has these, it's like a Zipatone. It has these color sheets. All you do is lay it down and cut it out. And the colors."
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And all the rest in here.
Even I didn't know that, because I mean, I worked on newspapers in the early 80s, and we were doing half the things you said, waxers and Zipatone. And
wax, remember?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't remember having color like that. We would have to use that orange, plastic stuff that you had to cut into a certain shape, and for the separations and all that stuff. Big drag.
Well, the interior color is all Dr. Martin dyes, but this yellow and the blue around here is from Pantone.
Okay.
And here's some stuff. Here, I thought this would be more relevant because the movie just came out again, the new version. This is I did a
Ghostbusters,
Ghostbusters Magazine.
That was for First Publishing, wasn't it?
Yeah, but this was not published by First.
Oh, where was that published?
It was a magazine from that was just devoted to Ghostbusters.
Okay, I never saw that.
And because of that, I got to do some work for First Magazine, First, on their Ghostbusters.
Wow.
And I believe I'm the only artist that got to draw both the Ghostbusters and the real Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, the other one.
The real Ghostbusters.
Tracy,
and the one with the ape.
Yeah.
From Filmation.
Filmation ones, yeah.
I did 7 issues of the Filmation comic book.
I was going to ask you about that. I didn't know you did both. I actually knew you did the Filmation one. I wasn't sure you did the other one.
I did. But they only published 6 issues of this, so I have a complete issue here that's never been published.
Ooh. Hey, everybody, there's a new movie that just came out. Maybe they could reprint it in some omnibus and give Howard a little work here.
We'll see. Okay.
Let's see. So did you do, I know you did something, and I might be jumping the gun, but I'll say it. Yeah, I know you did something for Crazy Magazine, but what did you do anything else for US Marvel? I mean, eventually you must have done something,
I did
being in the offices.
Licensing stuff for them.
Oh, okay.
I did. I'll show you later. I did Silverhawks.
Oh, okay.
Which was a lot of fun, because when I got the assignment, Burger King was doing a giveaway on toy figures of the action figures, which was fun because I would go over to Burger King and buy all the action figures for like $1 a piece and set them up on my desk on my drawing board.
Wow.
Which is very helpful. And it was a great job. And Joe Sinnott inked the cover. I got to draw the cover also on that. And I did some work for what was that? Spider Ham. But I didn't draw Spider Ham. I did a backup. I was up at Marvel, just hanging out because I was hoping to get some work. So I was walking down the hallway, and Larry Hama sticks his head out of his office and says, "Hey, come in here. I got something for you." And he gave me this assignment. It was a takeoff on the Submariner, where he sells things on the street.
I think I remember that.
Under the water.
Yeah, I remember that because I used to read the Spider-Man comic. I read a lot of those Star comics, so it's like,
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, I got to. I did New Kids on the Block also.
Oh yeah, but that was over at Harvey, so
No,
so.
yeah, that was at Harvey, but it was it after Star or during Star?
It was after Star, because I mean the chronology is original Harvey kind of folded up, and so everybody went over to Marvel. They started Star, and then when that was kind of starting to wind down, Sid and everybody left and went to the new Harvey that was owned by
That
Jeff
was on
Montgomery.
the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, I got an assignment from him on when he was out on the West Coast. Oh, I got to do. They packaged it with. Do you remember videotape? VCR.
Yes.
I did a comic book that was like this big that fit in the box with the VCR tape.
Ooh.
For Johnny Quest.
Oh.
And it was one of my favorite episodes. It was Turu, the giant pterodactyl.
Wow.
That was a lot of fun too. Keith Pollard did the cover, and he did the other adaptations. I think there were 6 or 8 of them, and he did at least. I did once, and I think he did the other ones.
So
Keith and I, we all hung out together when we were up in Marvel. We would go out and do things.
So the years you were at Marvel was roughly like 74 to 80. Is that like
something like that? Right.
Yeah. Now, did you work exclusively with them once you left Warren too, or did you have other outside jobs?
I was the British. They were moving the British department to England.
Yeah.
And Marvel, I didn't know at the time, was planning on moving their offices downtown.
Oh, okay.
This is the time when I transition part. So I knew that I was going to be out of work. and I didn't know if I was going to continue to get work from Marvel, but I wanted to, at least have something to do. So I went up to Harvey, and they took me in, and I got a job. I got a 5-page story from them every week. And every week I would draw the story, and I would come in to the offices, and Warren Kremer would review what I did, all 5 pages. And he'd go over and show me how to make Richie cross a bridge. So it's different. It was so much different storytelling. It had to be so direct and so simple that they could understand it. And I really, really respected that, because, they weren't looking for panels that were all different shapes or anything like that. They wanted the 6-panel grid or the 4-panel grid or something like that. Right. They really weren't into that.
It was always 5 pages, unless there was and even if it continued, it might be 5, 10, or 15, but it was always 5-page.
Right.
To be continued.
And the writer would also draw the script, because it was a very visual thing. It was like you want to make sure you get the pratfalls in, and all the physical jokes that were going on. The writer wanted to make sure that, and most of the writing that I worked with was with the gentleman, Lenny Herman.
Lenny Herman, yeah. And
he
was the one. He was the one that tended to do more humorous stuff.
Yes, he was a freaking genius, I tell you that.
But he also had, from what I know about him, I've never met him, but from what I know about him, he had like a very salty sense of humor, but he also liked puns and gags and stuff like that. And,
Sid really loved puns. He
Yeah.
really loved those
Yeah.
things. And
So-
I enjoyed them myself. So, we got along pretty well that way.
So you just mainly did Richie Rich, or just
Richie
whatever
Rich,
titles?
I did
or-
a Jackie Jokers, Dollar the Dog.
Okay.
And I also got there was a robot involved.
Oh, Irona the robot. Yeah. Yeah.
I know it was her, but it was another different robot. Oh, he was a villain or some kind. I think he appeared in another issue.
Oh, there's a
This
guy
is a
with a
funny
light
part.
bulb. The guy with a light bulb on his head, Dr. NRG.
No, it was so funny that
Mhm.
this happened. I noticed that this character had appeared before.
Mhm.
So I wrote it inside, I wrote a little caption down at the bottom of the panel saying, as appeared from this issue of Richie Rich. So I brought it in. And Sid looked at it and said, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
That's Marvel
I said,
stuff.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, Lenny would look, Warren would look over my work all the time. And,
Yeah.
and he would show me what to do and says, you missed a boat here. You could have made it funnier.
Hmm.
And then he'd make me draw that panel to make
Hmm.
it funnier. And I would sit down and at the office and redraw it while, everybody else was doing their own work.
Now, in those days, did you just come in sporadically, or did you come
No,
in
once
every
a
day?
week.
Okay.
Once a
Okay.
week. I tried to come in once a week. That way I got a story and I left. That way I
Okay.
had some money
All
to
right.
pay the rent
Because-
that week.
As you know, me being the Harvey guy, I've interviewed everyone I could possibly interview, and so everybody has a different story. So the people that were like your contemporaries, well, you mentioned Warren Kremer, but of course Ernie Cologne was there, and
Yes.
Paul Marangelli was there in the production department with Ken Selig, and who am I forgetting? Angelo DeCesare. He did.
Angelo. There was an older gentleman there
Um,
in production. He was very, very nice to me.
That was probably Ken
That's-
Selig. Yeah. And then Ken Selig later worked for Archie. I don't know if he worked.
Wasn't
with
he
him.
the inker? Didn't he ink stuff?
He did do some inking later on. Yeah. Yeah. He would do like a little bit of everything. So yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was that's what we were talking earlier before we turned on the thing. And I think that's the man that I was talking about.
Oh,
that
Ken
did-
Selig. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a long career. He never really did stories for Harvey or Archie. Well, I think he did some later, but he mainly did like inking and things like that in production and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
he
did.
was noted as an inker. When I
Yeah.
looked him up on the internet, they mentioned him more as an inker than anything else.
Yeah, he did do
But he was-
He did do covers for Harvey after the original people all left,
Right.
because Warren Kremer wasn't there anymore, so they had to have somebody do it, and he could do a pretty good Kremer. So
If that was the gentleman you're talking, I'm thinking about, the guy was incredibly nice and such a sweet,
Yeah.
sweet man.
well,
Also,
he and Lenny Herman both smoke big cigars. So does that ring a bell?
No, may not have been the same guy.
Okay.
But anyway, Joe Simon was up there
Oh yeah,
all
He
the
was
time.
he was a close
He
friend
was
of.
always wandering the hallway back and forth. And the first time I saw him, I thought, was he the janitor or something? Because he's always up here. And it was Joe Simon, the legendary Joe
Yeah.
Simon, which was amazing. Just to show you how little I knew at the time.
Well,
that
I
I
tell
was-
people
I was there.
that Joe Simon worked at Harvey, and they go, no, because they think he was the creator of Captain America. It's like he and Alfred Harvey were buddies. So it's like, he
Right.
got-
Oh my God. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. I read that in his bio.
yeah. So
He did the digest. He created the Digest magazine for them back in the 40s. Which went through the roof.
oh yeah, Pocket
Yeah.
Comics. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
See,
That's it.
trying to see if there's a picture in here. I have a lot of pictures in my book. Well, I do have this. Let me show you this. I'm not going to hold up every picture. But as far as covers go, and I wanted to ask you about this, you did a comic reader cover.
I did. That
And
looks
that
like
one
a
actually has your signature.
photocopy.
It's hard to tell, but it does say Bender in the corner. So how did that one
That was
come
one of the
about?
last things I did before moving on from Harvey. That was one of the last things. And you like the giant? What was his name?
Oh, Stumbo, yeah. Yeah.
Dumbo, right? That was one
Yeah.
of my favorite characters, also.
Yeah, which I
My
will
wife-
show. I will show. See, I got your artwork here, and you gave me not one but two. So I ordered a Stumbo, a signed Stumbo that actually you put Richie and Casper as well. So I thank you for
Well,
that.
I wanted you to get your money's worth.
And then you went above and beyond the Call of Duty. Give this man a commission. He'll give you something else. He'll put it on a Stumbo on the packaging.
Oh yeah, I was pretty happy with that, actually.
I like that. And I said, damn, it's like you should have put that on the paper. It's on
Yeah.
cardboard, but I'm keeping it anyway. So
Well, a lot of I'm not the only one, but a lot of artists like to put a little extra on there when they send it out. And
Yeah.
I've
I
always
appreciate it.
liked doing that. When I was a child,
Mhm.
everyone in my family, when we would get a Christmas card or a birthday card or something, everyone in my family would draw something on the envelope
Mhm.
just to make it more personal.
Hmm.
So I'm sort of carrying on a family tradition when that happened, when I do that.
So where was Harvey at that point? Was it still at Columbus Circle or had they moved yet?
Oh, it was Columbus Circle, was the
Okay.
Paramount building? Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a story on that one too.
Which is now Trump Tower, if you can believe it, So
No, Trump Tower was down the street.
oh, okay.
Oh,
But
he had a
it's
hotel. He had
very
something.
close. It's
It
very
was on the
close.
same
Yeah.
street, but
Yeah.
like 68th Street or something.
Because I think
70?
he ended up buying that Gulf and Western Paramount building too. So
It's possible. I don't
so-
know.
but
Anyway.
long after Harvey was there. But anyway, I don't want to get into
Remember,
that too much.
Anyway, at the time, 75,
Yeah.
the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show was very popular.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife and I had seen it about 40 times in different locations, but mostly down at the Waverly in Manhattan. So I'm walking into the elevator to go up to Harvey Comics at the Paramount building. And Susan Sarandon is having some kind of a tit-to-tat with some gentleman there, which I imagine was her agent or something, because they were having some words.
Ah!
And I think I said, I'm going up the elevator with Susan Sarandon, or what was the girl's name in the movie? Oh,
Janet, the part
Janet.
she played. Yeah.
Janet Weiss. I'm going up the elevator with Janet Weiss. I really should not have said that, but I think I did.
No, that's okay.
Walking around Manhattan, you see a lot of celebrities. They just
Yeah, I
walk
was
around.
thinking,
Yeah, you do.
So I don't, you said 75. So I'm just trying to think. I mean, you said an older gentleman. There's a person that preceded Ken Selig, but I thought he was gone. His name is Otto Percola. Does that name ring a bell?
That might be it. That
Okay.
might be it. But this was 78.
78. Yeah, because I thought Otto was gone by that point, and it was run by Ken. But there could have been another older person at the time too. That, of course, Leon was there, and Warren was there, but I wasn't there, so so I have to get all this information from you. I mean, I mentioned beforehand, and I could say it now before we got on the air here, is Sid Jacobson and I had a little falling out, and the main reason was he says, you weren't there, you don't know. And I said, I just go by what you tell me. If you tell me something, I take it as truth, but I'll do it with other people too. So if somebody says something that contradicts what you say, I'm just a reporter. I'm writing it down, and there are conflicting stories, over the years, unfortunately.
Warren was not shy about saying how he created Richie Rich.
Yeah. And I do have I never interviewed him, but I do have interviews with him, so
good.
that say that in great detail, and how he had arguments with Albert Harvey about it and stuff like that. So
I don't know if he did the first few appearances.
Well, the very first one was drawn by Steve Muffati, who was the guy he goes way back. You're talking about older people. And he was working at Fleischer doing Betty Boop and that type of stuff back in the 30s.
Little Dot #1 or something?
Yeah. So, and that's the thing about the Richie Rich thing. It was just a backup feature. It wasn't even important, until.
Oh my God, it took over the world.
Yeah, until he did. It's funny, it's like he was a backup feature for 7 years before he got his own title. Like you talk about like Hot Stuff, Stumbo had a few test runs and Harvey hits, but like Hot Stuff, he just started out with issue 1. This is our new starring character, and you'd think Richie Rich would have started that way, but nope.
No.
So
I think they made the right choice.
what,
They
moving,
really
doing more Richie Rich, or
Yeah,
what?
by doing more Richie, yeah.
Yeah.
And my favorite title was Richie Rich with Casper.
Oh,
which
yeah.
was written and drawn by, I believe he wrote it by Warren Kremer. They were really sweet little
I don't
stories.
think he wrote it as much as, I think the one who wrote those was Stan Kay. That's the one he tended to partner with on that. Yeah. So, of course, nobody gets credit. So this is from like the research and talking to Sid and Ernie and stuff like that over the years. So it's like, if I'm wrong, it's only, again, what I've heard. So, but it makes sense. I don't think Lenny Herman worked on Richie Rich and Casper because he tended to do like the Jackie Jokers type stuff, the sillier stuff,
Well,
like the little
I'm
TV
sure-
parodies.
I'm pretty much remember him working with him on Richie.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So,
So I was up at the office and I asked Sid if I could, get some comics, to read and use for reference. So we walk out of the editorial room, down past the production room, and there in the hallway on the right-hand corner was a door.
mhm.
And he said, just open the door and take out what you want. So I opened the door and it was like a closet, like a linen closet. And I opened the door and I swear to you, the comic books almost fell out on me.
It's like Tennessee Tuxedo.
And I picked up like
Whoopee.
Tommy Time,
Timmy Time. Yeah. Yeah.
Timmy Time, and a lot of, they had some, if you were a comic book collector, they had some pretty valuable books in there,
Wow.
which you you said you could take whatever you want. So I took out all the Harvey titles that were relevant to what I wanted.
And this was just in a closet in the offices? I've never heard this before. Wow.
Yeah, it's true. It is.
I mean,
it's
I
my
heard
memory,
the thing
so-
I always hear about is they call it the infamous Harvey warehouse because Steve Jeppy eventually purchased it and all this stuff.
Yes.
And my vision of it was probably more like what you said about Captain Company over at Warren, because it sounds like Captain Company kept everything in nice little stacks and
Yes.
you could find things. Well,
Right.
not the Harvey warehouse. It was just a big pile of crap. And so
Well, it
there's
was
a
like an
story-
Easter egg hunt.
yeah, there's a story that I did get in my book here. I think it's a Joe Simon story. He wanted the original art for Stuntman that he did like 20 years earlier or something like that. And they go, hold on a minute. And they had to dig for it because it wasn't like organized or categorized or anything.
Right.
And they finally found the stuff. But I mean,
Oh,
and they
that's
have
good.
reprinted that stuff for books about Joe Simon. But had they not found it, it would have been just lost. And they would have.
I know. Well, Gippy would have sold it or something. Maybe you would have.
Yeah,
sold
maybe if you found it. Yeah, I don't.
It. The thing
Yeah.
about that is that I never got any of my artwork back from
Wow.
Harvey, so I don't have anything there. But I do have some stuff here. Let me dig out some stuff.
Right.
How much? Oh, I think we're almost done. And
Well, I want to talk a little bit about DC because you work there too, and then just what you're presently doing, and then the
Okay.
plug. So that's the future
Okay,
of the
well-
show. So
well, okay, I did. This was for Who's Who or whatever.
oh yeah, I bought all those. So you did the
This is,
covers.
yeah, this was a center spread or
Oh,
something,
center spread. Okay, yeah, but I
Two-page
remember those.
spread.
Yeah.
Dial H for Hero,
Oh yeah.
and it's Robbie Reed and all his characters around him,
Hmm.
and Vicky and all her characters, and I forgot this kid's name, but this was my favorite one. The little ball
Move it
thing.
move it over a little bit to your left so you can see it.
This was my favorite.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I was really into Pac-Man at the time.
Oh okay.
And it reminded me of Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Every time my wife and I would go out,
Mhm.
I would find a Pac-Man machine and she would wonder where I was. But then she would say, oh, let's see if they have a Pac-Man machine here.
So was this the type of stuff you typically did at DC, or did you get stories there too, or what did you do there?
Well, I worked at, I did Dial H for Hero. Oh, here, let me tell you, I have a little funny story here.
Okay.
Here's some coloring. This original coloring for some of the stories I did.
No, I read those. I read Dial H for Hero. They have an adventure comics near the end of the run, so yeah.
They were in Superboy.
Oh, those were in Superboy? Okay. But I
okay.
read everything, but I remember it also being
Okay.
an adventure
We would
comics.
get together.
So.
Bob Rozakis was my boss at the DC Comics. He was head of production. And I was working in the production department. I did a lot of the covers there. And Bob LaRose and I did all the covers. And we would paste them up and do them together. And but we would, when it came to doing the Dial H, we would come in and sit down in Julie Schwartz's office. Julie, Nelson Bridwell, Bob Rozakis, and myself would sit down and talk about what we want to do. I didn't do that much talking because I wasn't the writer. So, Bob Rozakis wrote the story, and he wrote this story here, and it says, this is a villain. And it says, he's wondering how come the kids are finding him all the time. And he says, there must be a neon sign here telling everybody where I am. So I thought it would be really funny if I put a neon sign up here pointing to him. It says super villain right here.
What does it say?
Oh, it says super villain headquarters, but it just says HIIN and then RS and then an arrow. And then months after the story was printed, Bob Rozakis calls me into his office, opens up the comic and says, does that sign say what I think it says? And I said, yes. And he got so upset. I'm sorry, Bob, but I thought it was funny. I
think I remember that because that looks very familiar. I read that story at the time, and
anyway,
I just thought it was funny.
This got me in trouble.
Oh.
Anyway, that was that. We had some fun, though. We had some fun.
So how did DC compare to Marvel? How did DC compare to Marvel?
This is what I would do.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
These are thumbnails for the stories. These are thumbnails for the stories, and I would break them down into panels and make sure I didn't have the same panel, the way they would be, in each page. I'd make them each page look different.
Right.
And I would draw how many people I'm going to have in it, and I'd have the action and things like that. And then this is the same size as the comic book. And I was doing this, and a lot of artists at the time were also doing this too, like Gil Kane was one of the Gil was fun. He would come in the office and we would have some fun talking about stuff with this and that. Because he was, he and Julie go way back, way back. Anyway, this is the one with the doll and the little ball guy that I was telling you earlier. This is him with the antennas. And so I lay out the story like this. So I knew what each panel is going to look like and things like that. And then I would photocopy them and enlarge it to the size of the art page. And I would, draw over it. It was pretty time consuming, but it really helped me understand how to make the story go.
That's cool.
Here is, here's another story. This is the one with this is like near the end of the run. where they have the wizard character coming.
Move it to your left a little bit. Just there we go. Okay.
It's like the little wizard guy that
Mhm.
that was making everything happen, and he was like involved with the dial somehow.
Hmm.
Anyway, that was fun.
So, how did DC and Marvel compare as far as places to work?
Well, DC gave me more work. I got the pencil and things like that. Plus, I got to do covers. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Mhm.
I worked with Bob Willow, so he had some really heavy hitters working in the department. One of them did Zot. Remember Zot?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He was working in production right next to me.
Hmm.
And Todd Klein was there. He pretty much see, Bob was in his office all the time, so Todd was out in the open with us. So
Yeah.
He was like overseeing everything that went on, make sure that we were all being good and doing what we were supposed to be doing, so to speak. So, and it was like a little family, actually.
Now you
Well-
mentioned something before we went on, and this is of course near and dear to my heart. You did a Richie Rich parody for Crazy Magazine. You said you had the original art there. And
I do,
of course,
I do,
it's
I
my
do.
two loves: humor
Right now, I
magazines,
have this I wanted to show you.
humor magazines, and Richie Rich. Oh, Beethoven. That's Star Comics stuff from Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was for Harvey right after Star.
Oh yeah, that's right. It did end
Sid
up at
called
Harvey.
me up.
That was at Harvey. That's right. Yeah.
Sid called me up and said he had this book. It was based on a movie, and since I had kids, I saw the movie.
Yeah.
We had young kids at the time,
Right.
so this is
I have that issue, but then I have all the.
this is a
hard-
pretty rough of what I wanted to do, and then I refined it a bit here,
Oh, very cool.
and then this is all laid out.
Okay, so you did work for Harvey twice. That's cool.
Yeah, in and out. Yeah,
Yeah.
back and forth, so to speak. Like I said, they were Sid was, thought of me every once in a while, which was very nice of him. He didn't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, but Angelo DeCesare, I interviewed him. He said the same thing. He said I had worked for Sid for years, and then he just called him back. He says, "Hey, it's like, okay, I'll work for you again, sure."
Yeah,
So-
right.
So he
And
liked
that
who he
way,
liked to work with.
Sid's- Yeah, Sid knew what he was doing in that way.
Mhm.
Okay, now when I wasn't really working for Harvey at the time when I did this for Marvel, but I was doing
Oh.
this for Marvel.
Hmm.
And here is the
Yay, Richie Rich. So
I think I had the man's name on the tip of my tongue who wrote this, but I forgot it now. You'll have to look it up. He
What?
became an editor up at Marvel after
yeah, I'm not sure who
Like
wrote
in
that
the
one. I know in the early 70s when Crazy started, they did a Casper parody, and that one was written by Marv Wolfman.
right,
And
and it was drawn by Marie Severin.
that
who
was Marie
inked the
Severin.
story.
And so the one you did was in response to that when Larry Hama reprinted the Casper one. They said, we
Right.
want more Harvey parody, which is very odd,
think
but I was eating
absolutely.
it up. Yeah.
And this was a takeoff on the news of the day.
Yeah.
I forgot her name too, but you'll know it.
It was like the Patty Hearst thing, wasn't it?
That was Patty Hearst. Yes,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is Patty Hearst. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Patty Hearst. Here is-
It's very,
here is Richie.
very
Here is something
non-PC,
he would
poor
never
taste.
do. He would never do this.
No.
He's hitting a baby seal with a solid gold diamond encrusted baseball
remember.
bat.
So that came out when I was about 12 or 13 years old. I loved it. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd
really?
ever seen. Because I bought humor magazines ever since I was 7, but like I loved it when they got, a little bit further out, like more than you're supposed to. I mean, nowadays you could never do that, and Marvel would probably disown this story.
Well, you want to hear something about Harvey?
Hmm.
Don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Don't tell him. This is just between you and me.
Okay.
hanging up in the offices where Sid and Warren and everybody, you know, the editors, the big guys that did all the, you know, that did the creative work, so to speak. There was a tracing paper hanging up on the wall, on the bulletin board, of Richie Rich with his phallus sticking out. And it was, and there was a puddle. Everything was in pencil except the puddle was colored yellow, and it was a puddle of urine that in the shape of a dollar sign. You know, like golden urine, so to speak. Anyway, you know who drew that? Of course, that was Warren Kremer.
Yeah.
So-
He would draw little things. I've heard of different things like that, not just from you, but from other people. You know, probably Angelo, probably Paul Marangeli. You know, they'd say, yeah, there's drawings we could never put in the comics in there. You know,
No.
hanging on the walls. You know.
You know, the thing is that it wasn't so many years later that I really got to know Warren Kremer's work, because he did so much more than just Richie Rich for Harvey and everything. He did so much. Like he did covers. I don't know if he did Dick Tracy or whatever. He did all those covers in the
He
50s.
didn't do the Dick Tracy ones. It was that was actually Joe Simon that would actually do the Dick Tracy covers way back when. But he did all the Warren Kremer would do all the Joe Palooka covers and Humphrey
Right.
and
Okay.
Little Max and all that stuff. And he did Blondie and Dagwood and Mutt and Jeff. So he had
Right.
the ability to imitate other styles pretty easily. And he did the horror comics in the
Right.
50s, but Lee Elias tended to take Warren's rough sketches and do the final, you know, versions of it. So they're kind of co-creations, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he drew those horror books himself, which
Yeah.
gave me so.
He
Which-
did do some stories and he did some solo covers, yes, but Lee Elias kind of redrew some of them, or at least his name got slapped on the cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of props to him on that. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very cool. Is that, so
Oh.
you have the whole story there? Is that
No, I don't have the whole story. We gave, you know, the inker gets some pages too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Marie got some
Oh,
of the
okay.
pages.
Okay.
And
There was a while back that I actually did see the complete Casper story, and I held it in my hands and everything. And I did want to purchase it, but it was out of my reach, and I never got it. Now another collector has it, so oh well. But at least I got to touch the original art on that. So
well,
that's actually
you know,
that's actually smaller than I expected. It seems like it should be bigger, but maybe it just doesn't have much of a
but this was
border.
the standard size for the pages now.
Okay.
Our original art during this, you
Huh.
know, it wasn't until like the early 70s that they changed the twice up
Okay.
to this size.
Okay.
And here's something I did for my
Ah.
wife at the time
That's
when I
cool.
was working at Harvey.
Mhm.
Oh, here's
What's that
something
one?
I did for Marvel. These are the Silverhawks.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. Those are the little giveaway comics that they had at the like.
No,
Burger
no,
King,
no.
like
This
you
was
said?
a real story.
That was the real story. Okay, because I
Wow,
know
this
that
is
I
a
have
real-
a little small one that's like.
Yeah, they probably
giveaway
do, but
that
this was a real title, ongoing title.
Oh,
They had.
okay.
A licensed title they were doing. I did a ton of licensed characters when I was coming up, because you know and that's why I could never really find my style, so to speak.
Right.
It's like
Well, in a certain respect, you're kind of like Warren because yeah, you're just you know, doing everyone else's characters as it were, like he did for
Right.
quite a long time. You know, so.
also one of the things I really loved doing was they had a club, the Honeymooners. They had I did this book for
Oh yeah.
for Putnam.
Oh okay.
It was written by one of the founders of the Ralph Association,
Oh, okay.
Royal Association of the Honeymooners, Royal or something, the Honeymooners fan club.
Yeah.
It was out in
Yeah.
out in Long Island.
Mhm.
Island.
Very
And
cool.
I did all the illustrations for the Illustrated Trivia Honeymoon book or something.
I remember that book.
Illustrated Trivia book. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's it.
I remember that book. Yeah.
And
Uh,
then I got to do a comic book story
What is that? More Honeymooners? What is it? Oh,
Yep, this is the
okay.
Honeymooner.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
This is lettered by Ken Fidenowitz to the lettering, because we
Now-
live pretty close to each other in Tom's
Now,
River.
most of these stories you're holding up, you just did the penciling, right?
No, I did the inking on
Oh, you
these.
did the inking too on that. Okay.
These are I did the inking on all this.
Oh, okay.
Very early stuff, I would just let someone who knew more about doing what they did
Okay.
take care of it.
Right.
But eventually I decided that it was time that I at least learned how to ink.
Right.
So and felt
and-
tip pens came in just in time for me to start inking. Because I could never, because I would see Frank Giacoia and Mike Esposito, they're there grinding their pen points.
Oh yeah, the
And
India
I would
Higgins.
I would grind my pen point and then it would just break right off.
Ah.
So it was not a good thing for me.
Inking and brush, or with a pen. I mean, not with a pen, but with a quill and with a brush, are like a very acquired art.
That is an art in itself, definitely. And I don't think nowadays with the computer, I don't know if they know how to even use that kind of stuff anymore.
During
Lost art.
the whole time on all of these stories, did you write any of your stories, or did you just do the artwork?
I did the writing on the Billy and Pop stuff that I did.
Okay.
Appeared in the, what is it, the Comics Buyer's Guide.
Oh, okay, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did that writing. And then when I got so loaded down with work, I asked a friend of mine to help me write it. First, Jack C. Harris helped me write a few of them.
Mhm.
He was a member of the Pittsburgh Comics Club early. He was one of our earliest non-Pittsburgher members, because he lived out near Philly, Williamsburg.
Now, where are you now? Are you?
And we're in Pittsburgh here in
Oh,
town.
so you are in Pittsburgh. So when did you?
We moved back. We moved back. We spent
Roughly when? When? I mean, in the 80s?
2016.
Oh,
we
okay.
moved back here.
Oh, very cool.
And I grew up in Highland Park, East Liberty, Highland Park, and my wife grew up in Mount Lebanon.
Hmm.
And we're living in one of those two places.
Wow.
You want to guess where?
Go ahead.
Mount Lebanon. We're living in Mount Lebanon.
Wow. Okay. So, when did you? I mean, do you still? I mean, you obviously do commissions, because I can attest to that, and you put your business card and everything here. But when did you kind of leave the industry, or do you still do projects now?
Well, I didn't leave the industry. The industry
I've heard that.
decided that it didn't need me as much as it used to.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I said, well, I got to find work that I can do myself, drum up myself without having to depend on an editor. Because I was doing a lot of work for newspapers and magazines and book publishing.
Yeah.
And every time I'd get in really, really good with an editor,
Mhm.
I called them up the next week, then they went somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was hard to, it was very transient. And that type of the industry was very transient. So I decided, how can I make something that's going to be stable and I don't have to depend on an editor who may or may not like my work, so to speak. So I decided I'd be a caricature artist, because when growing up, the Pittsburgh Comics Club, well, growing up as a small child, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette had a Sunday section, and it had a TV section. It was drawn by John Johns, and he did these beautiful caricatures of all these celebrities. And the magazine was like, magazine side. It wasn't like a TV guide size. That was big, and it was always in full color. And he was amazing. And then he was a Pittsburgher, but he also taught caricatures, how to draw caricatures at the Art Institute in Pittsburgh. Remember I mentioned that earlier?
Mm-hmm.
See, I went to the Ivy School of Professional Art for one reason. It had the word professional in the title. And I wanted to be a professional.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Anyway, John's also our Pittsburgh Comics Club, our leader, Ben Pondexter, would ask John's to show up at all our events. So I would every time he come on, he would not just draw people while he was drawing. He would tell how and why he was doing things, and he would give a little lesson each time. So I picked up that kind of stuff, and I thought, and John said, you can always learn to be a caricature artist. You'll always have work, and that's something I remembered. So I decided I'd get into that, and I draw nothing like John's. The guy is a master at what he did, and but I do some nice stuff. I think I do what I can. I have a motto. Every time you put a line down on the paper, you have to learn something from it and get better each time and get better with the next line you put down. That's what my motto is, try to be.
Very cool.
So you were going to show something?
No, I'm looking at your caricature flyer and everything. I still have it on the back, but you can show.
I did recently.
Yeah. Very cool.
And it was for these people that went to Pitt University, and they took this drawing that I did, and they put it on a beach towel. And the same people also wanted this caricature of these people, and being nice to each other, sort of like an 11 pose, so to speak. Really cool.
I should have had you do a caricature with the Stumbo and Richie, and guess no, it's no big deal.
I would have. Hey, if you wanted me to draw you, I would have done that. But you didn't.
I didn't even think about it. I didn't think about what you currently are doing.
That could be your next thing.
Yeah, that'll be the next one. I'll have to do another one. So yeah, that's the one I was looking at. That was what I was looking at. But you can hold it up since yeah. So
what I do. Oh, we saw that one. How about this one? These about weddings. Yeah. Weddings are very big for caricature artists.
Very cool. Look, you can call him there. There's his number right
if you
there.
Want to call me? Please do.
Yeah.
I love the work. Believe me, I do. I'd rather. I get a lot of fun out of being a caricature artist. It's very rewarding. I highly recommend it.
Now, to wrap up, I mean, do you do any personal appearances now, or are you basically just doing this?
If a convention wants me to have them, they're welcome to call me, and I'll be happy to show up if they want me there.
Okay. But nothing scheduled. I know a lot of stuff has been closed down.
I'm going to, years, but... well, we have a show out here that I do. It's called the Three Rivers Comic Con.
I've heard of it.
And they're very good people.
Yeah.
And they run a terrific show. They don't have celebrities on. It's based around comic books. The show is just for comics and people who love comics and people who work and do and create comics. So it's a good show. And they're having one at the convention center coming up early next year. And I did the t-shirt for them this year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So Three Rivers Comic Con.
All right.
Oh, wait, I didn't get to show you some of this. This is something you're going to be interested in.
Okay.
One of the, here. One of the things that I did was a look and find. Remember when Where's Waldo was popular?
Oh, yeah.
I did a look and find book for Spider-Man. Okay. And I did a few pages into it, and then I had to have other people help me because it took me all freaking summer to draw it.
Now, where was this? Where was this published? Was this in a regular?
It's still in print.
Oh, is it a puzzle book?
Years old.
It's a puzzle book or something of Spider-Man, okay.
Yeah, I think the company was bought out by another company, and I don't get a penny for it. No royalties on it, but I got to keep the original art.
Well, that's
because
cool.
I said all the artwork was colored on an overlay. And I got some good colors. I got Ken Podunowitz to color it, and this other lady who worked at DC, She worked in the production department, and she lived in Tom's River where I was living at the time. She was living there at the time, and she helped me also color. And another colorist from DC also helped color. I think that all the names are written in the book, so if you look it up, you'll be able to tell. Here's another page from that. This one is inked by Mike Esposito. The other one that I showed you was inked by Don Heck. I got to work with some big heavy hitters on this book because I had their phone numbers, and I just called them up and said, "Hey, you want to make a lot of money?" Because they were paying a lot of money for this. This was a big project. And that book led to me doing this with Casper.
Now, where was that?
Look and find Casper book.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that before too. Wow.
This is all colored by Ken Fedenowitz. He did the coloring on. Oh, and he also did the coloring on the Spider-Man book. Also, Ken and I did a lot of work together because when I was working on Mr. Fix-It and other projects that I was putting together for editors and other companies that needed stuff like giveaway comic books and things like that. I did some of those giveaway books, and Ken would be there to do the coloring and the lettering. Now the thing about this is we're supposed to find Casper in here, and I stayed up night after night trying to figure out how to draw Casper differently than the way he's supposed to look. It was nuts. It was this was one of the most like unsatisfying books I ever did. But I think it turned out really, it looks pretty. I think it looks pretty, especially the way Ken colored it. He did a beautiful job. And here we are at an amusement park like Disney World. They made this a cover. This was a cover. I got all the ghosts in there and all the other little characters that would appear with Casper. Can you see that? Can you see my whole? Okay.
Yeah, I had forgotten about this. I have that book because I remember you actually got credit. You know,
this was one. They're in a museum. This is where they are at the museum.
Yeah.
You got a dinosaur. You know, dinosaurs are big. This was before Jurassic Park. He was ahead of, he knew, and it was just, I'm trying not to draw Casper the way he looks, but he always turned out the same. Here we are. He looks. Here we are. Spooky, little spooky going on there. Here they are eating pizza. They're eating pizza and little flying pizzas, spaceships, aliens. I got to draw that some Harvey spaceships. Yeah, I'm sure you recognize them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had forgotten about that book, and I have you did two of them, if I remember correctly. You know,
I also did a how to draw Casper and the character.
Yeah, that's the other one. That's the other one.
Yeah, well, that was the editors on this project were not very bright because they gave me all these. You can cut that out if you want, or leave it in. They gave me all the samples that they wanted in the book, and it was all drawn by Warren Kremer on how to draw the characters. And they put my name on the book.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. That's why I completely forgot about that book as quickly as I could. And I even tried to write something in the foreword, in the beginning of the book, telling people who Warren Kremer was, and these were all based on his drawings. But somehow it didn't come out the way I wrote it. They edited it somehow.
Well, at some point, I do have a book that I've written in cooperation with the Kremer family. It's supposed to come out, but it's been delayed because they want to give off their seal of approval on it, which I don't mind. It's their dad. So it's been delayed, unfortunately, almost indefinitely, but I hope they get it done because, I think Warren Kremer should get his due. So it has a lot of artwork from like his pulp days prior to working in comic books and everything, and they gave me all this different artwork in there. So I cover everything, not just Richie and Casper. So someday that'll come out. It's supposed to come out this year, but it's like it probably will take another year or so. I'm hoping faster, crossing fingers. Anyway.
Okay. Let me say this before we hang up or go.
Okay.
I want to say that every artist I ever met when I was working up at Marvel or DC, and especially up at Harvey, they were all extremely patient with me. They all took time out of whatever they were doing. They would put it aside and show me how to draw something and how to, and why they did it this way in the comic book industry, to show me how things were drawn and done in comics. And that went from everybody down to even the letterers and things like that. And that's because I believe strongly that when they were starting out in the industry, someone must have taken the time to show them how to do it too. So they were just passing it on.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good thing that they did. And it you know, really made it more of a family type of situation. Yeah. That we all felt, and made us all feel sort of close to each other in that way. And I really will never forget that. Like John Romita would take time out of his schedule, Marie Severin and all those other people, and especially Warren. Like I said, I'd come up every week and he would take the time. He'd take like 30, 40 minutes with me on how to do this and things like that. And he was so understanding and so kind to me. It was so nice. And I'll never forget that, because I still remember the lessons that he taught me to this day, and I still use them.
Very good.
Anyway.
All right. Well, do you have any final words, or just thank
give
you
me a call. Oh, my
yeah.
You can put up my one of those little things that you put on the bottom of the thing. You can put up
I'm
my
not that
website
sophisticated.
You can put my website up there, howardbenderart.com.
There we go.
Howard Bender Art. You can give me a call.
732-600-3462. Call right now. The rates are low.
I am doing commissions.
Don't call right now. We're doing a show.
Commissions, and I've done a lot of commissions on Star Wars. I've done some reproduction Star Wars covers, and I'll reproduce any cover I did, or I'll draw you. I won't come to your house if you're living like more than 40 minutes from where I live. I won't come out to your house, but
I'll do Stumbo.
I will draw you a Stumbo if you want a commission or anything like that. I will do that for you. And thank you for having me on, Mark.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed your book, and I really feel like we're kindred souls, because we love comic books so much, and Harvey in that way.
Yes. And I want to thank you, Howard, for being on the show with me today. And that wraps up another Fun Ideas podcast. All right. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Good night. Bye.